Would you like to skyrocket your email open rates? Like, do you ever get these emails where you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I got an email from this person and you're excited to open it up? Does that happen to you? Like, I know there's definitely people that I don't want necessarily want to open, but then there's those that are like, oh my gosh, I got an email from them. So it's kind of like you're waiting for, they're waiting for your message with that same anticipation. Like think about your own business, your people that you're writing to, and it's just like a beautifully wrapped gift, right? When you get these emails, because your audience knows that your emails are always delivering exactly what they need. Would it be valuable to you if you could send out that kind of an email? Like, think about it. Like having that explosive open rate, just like when you're reading someone's email, like, oh my gosh, your people, you want them to have that same effect. And how would that affect your sales? Like, think about this. So, in today's episode, I'm excited about this because we're going to be revealing exactly how to create that kind of magic in your emails. Because we're joined today by the amazing email expert, Joanne Homestead. And welcome to the Momentum Maker podcast. This is awesome Angie Engstrom honoring the awesomeness in you.
And I'm Kitty Outcott. And like you, Angie, I'm super excited to have you here, Joanne. Excited to hear all the advice you're going to be giving and golden nuggets you're going to be dropping on our audience. So once again, a big welcome, Joanne. We're thrilled to have you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I am excited to be here, and I do feel like Angie, well, as you were talking, I was like, is she in my email community already? Because that's one of the first emails I talk about in my welcome nurture sequence is the experience of opening the email is like the experience of opening a well thought out, intentional wrapped gift. And so when you talked about that, I was like, I thought we're totally on the same level there.
Awesome. I'm excited for this.
Yeah,
Excellent.
me too. But before we get started, I'm just going to do a short bio for you, Joanne.
Mhm.
Now, Joanne is an expert copywriter. She's an amazing storyteller with more than 15 years of experience creating captivating and aligned messaging as a master teacher. She focuses on helping female entrepreneurs and coaches in wellness, well-being, and mindset to elevate the stories, to connect, compel, and soulfully sell with integrity. Email style. Perfect. Look forward to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Momentum Maker Podcast. So thank you, Joanne, for being here. And so you got to hear kind of our version of your bio. So give us your like 10-second elevator pitch in your words.
Oh, yeah. So I am Joanne Homestead of Desk Plant Creatives, and I am an obsessed storyteller, as you said, so lovingly in my bio. And that is my passion. And I absolutely love weaving in the storytelling with the copywriting, with the email strategy, and really giving your emails a greater purpose, giving them direction, and helping you to create open worthy emails where people want to engage, they want to click, and they want to book calls with you.
Awesome. And they actually want to open your emails. Like that's
They actually look forward to your emails in their inbox. They see it and there's a positive association, which is what you want when they see your name, a positive association.
Absolutely. And knowing that they're going to open that email and get massive value. I love that. Okay, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. So, but let's take a step back a little bit because that's pretty specific what you're doing. That's a very ninja skill that you're teaching.
Hmm.
So, what inspired you to get started in email open rates? Like I want to hear this.
Yeah, yeah. I like to say that there is no 8-year-old girl saying, I want to be an email copywriter when I grow up and get people to open email.
Like, yeah.
Not part of the origin story here. So actually, I did not know what a copywriter was 4 years ago when I started my business. I thought it was the legal copyright with the C and the circle that, when you publish books, they have the copyright legal stuff there.
Oh, that's funny. That's amazing.
Oh,
Only 4
yes.
years ago. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
And because I come from the teaching world, the education world, I got my degree in teaching, my master's degree as a literacy specialist. I worked for 15 years as a classroom teacher and then a literacy specialist, and then also as a coach and mentor for teachers as well, specifically in literacy. And so I I do not come from a business background at all. And so 4 years ago, when I started my business and I found out about copywriting, it was such a natural transition for me because I feel like what I do as a copywriter and with the storytelling piece is exactly what I did when I was teaching for 15 years. Like I was able to hone my messaging down, really experiment and tweak every day to see what is engaging the students, how can I speak to them in a way that will captivate them. Also, what do they need to hear? Where are they in their journey, in their learning? How can I bring them from A to B to C? And how can I help them to own their actions? And that is what really I say copywriting is. It's the same thing, just knowing who you're talking to, what do they need to hear, what stories will compel them, and how to communicate in a way that inspires action. So, did I answer that question? I forgot what the question was.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So you were a teacher, so talk us through that because at some point you were a teacher, an educator, but and now you're an entrepreneur. So what inspired you to make that jump?
Okay, so I did full transparency. I tried leaving teaching a few times because of the amount of stress it was causing me, and it was just affecting my health and well-being negatively. Even though I loved the teaching, just teaching in the school system was just not quite the right fit for me. And so I tried leaving teaching several times and I kept going back because I didn't know what else to do, even though I had so many transferable skills, because I feel like as teachers, you are like you're a counselor, you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a professor, you're a manager, you're a project manager, you curriculum development, lesson everything. And so I tried leaving several times, but kept going back because I just really didn't know what to do. And then I stumbled upon a free online summit that was hosted by a former teacher who then started her own online business. And she interviewed, must have been like 15 to 20 former teachers and their story of why they left teaching. And everything they said was like, check, check, check. Like, yes, 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 I totally resonate with what you're saying. And then what successful online business they started. And that is how I got into this whole business world because I literally had to listen to every single one of their stories. It must have been 15 stories I heard. And by the 15th one, the light bulb finally went off and I said, "Oh, this is actually a viable option for me. I can explore this and see where it takes me." And so right after that time, like 3 weeks later, the lockdown happened for COVID. And I told my husband, and I said, "This is it. I think this is the sign." And he fully supported me because he said, "I've heard enough teaching stories over the years that I fully support you in going this route, and starting a business." And so that's how I got started with the business. And then when I first started out, I was doing a lot of different projects, and that's where I got hooked into the copywriting and got hooked into emails because I was writing emails for some clients as a virtual assistant, and they all said the same thing. Like they said, "I write to my email list all the time and I don't hear anything back from people, and you write one email and there's suddenly 12 responses, like people are responding and resonating. They're saying things like, 'Oh my gosh, I love the way you put that,' or I never thought of it that way before. Or, oh, yeah, I'm going to do the thing you're telling me to do because it hooks them in and they get that, oh, if there's an emotional, it's basically like there's something there. I was creating an emotional connection at the time. I was just starting out and I thought, I need to explore this a little bit because there seems to be something here for me. And I got hooked in. I just loved the email copywriting. So that's how it
Yeah.
all happened.
And it's true that email copywriting is something very, 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 very special because I do a lot of copywriting and email writing is just something, yeah, sort of unique. It's a unique talent. Would you talk a little bit about the process you use for writing emails?
Yeah, so first started out with doing done for you services, which I still provide done for you services where I write email sequences for clients. And then I worked with a coach a few years ago who encouraged me to start doing copy coaching. And so that's really where I like to say I'm teaching you to fish. I'm going to teach you how to craft basically craft open worthy emails, but there's strategy, there's a journey, there's like a guidance from going from A to B to C. And so I was actually very hesitant to start the copy coaching because I felt like there was a lot of there's a lot of beliefs that I had around like, oh, I don't think, I started my business. Like, who am I to teach other people? But she said, like, you obviously know what you're doing and you get results. So I started doing the copy coaching. So now within my process, what I like to say about specifically with the copy coaching is that it's a whole, I like to say it's a holistic approach and it's a comprehensive program because I can give you all the strategies and the tips and the hacks on, how to do your copywriting so that people want to take action, but the strategies aren't going to get you anywhere without the mindset work. And so that is why I say it's holistic in that sense because it's not just strategy, it's also mindset. And I have to say, I'm that person 3 years ago who said, I don't need mindset work. Just give me the strategy and I will go and implement. I will implement 150%. And then that's how I burned out, which back then was how as a teacher, I burned out every year. So it was just autopilot for me at the time. And so part of that process is I'm teaching, but I'm still getting feedback on looking at the emails and for my clients and saying, okay, this is where you want to tweak, and then teaching them like this is why, so that the next time when they go to write, they're getting better and better because eventually they're going to be able to do it just on their own. And so there's the tweaking of the skills, there's the email strategy, thinking about how does your email marketing align with your business goals, what other marketing do you have in place, all of those things, because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. We need to make sure everything aligns and that your email sequences align with your offers. We're not just throwing emails here and there. It's very strategic. So there's the skills, there's the strategy, there's the mindset, and the mindset stuff comes up, and that's okay because we are all human beings, and it comes up when you're showing up and you want to show up authentically. You really want to connect with people. When you start showing up, things come up. And I've seen a lot of mindset blocks, and that's okay. It happens to everyone. I like, oh, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to send too many emails. Oh, I really don't like it when someone unsubscribes. All those things that come up, we dig into and we really take a look and see like what's really going on behind the scenes there so that they can release those blocks and be able to move forward. So definitely the mindset piece. And then also there's the writing consistently. And so a part of being a business owner, a personal brand, you have a lot of copywriting to do for your own business. And so how do we create that habit of consistently creating content and being smart about it? Like we're not just creating a ton of content just for the sake of creating content. Like anyone can create content, basically. AI can create content. It's really about what being strategic about it again. And so a part of it is creating systems for yourself. So you are writing consistently so that when you are not feeling like, oh, I just don't want to write, that you actually go and do and write. It's kind of like working out. Sometimes you just really don't want to go and go for that run or go do your workout, but you go and do the thing because you know how important it is and that you feel good afterwards. And so another piece of that is the habits, the systems, like looking at your physical environment and seeing how can we optimize it so that it's serving you to write instead of hindering you. So those are mostly the that's the overview of the process for especially the copy coaching that I do in my program for clients.
That's wonderful. So once they, just a random question here, once they have the copy, do you get into anything about the traffic? Like who are they sending to? How are they getting people to send emails to? Do you cover that as well? Or is that, because that's a whole nother skill.
That is a whole nother skill. That's exactly what I say. That's a great question. And no, I don't go into that for my clients. My focus is really on the content and the strategy and the copywriting and then the email sequences. And then building, like actually growing your email list. Yeah, that's a whole nother arena of visibility. And I do give, I give suggestions on, how you can get more people coming in, but that's really not the focus of the program.
Gotcha. Yeah, because it is a whole completely different
Mhm.
side of
Mm.
of it. You
Yeah,
have to have
that's
people.
another whole program.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely. I was just curious, like what where your lane was. So that's
Mhm.
brilliant. I think that's amazing. So can you like maybe walk us through one of your clients, like help us see your business through your clients' eyes. Like where are they at? What are they thinking when they're finding you? Like
Mhm.
what is it that you're helping them with from the get-go?
Yeah, they usually come saying things like, I have an email list, and I always like to say I call it an email community because that's one mindset shift of this. They're not just numbers and not just a wall. It's not faceless people. These are people who voluntarily joined your email community to say, "Hey, I want to get to know you. I'm interested." So they usually come and say, "Oh, I've either like I've ghosted my list or I'm just so sporadic. I'm not very consistent with writing." Or they have been writing consistently, but they don't do any like they don't write email sequences. And so it's not very strategic in like where they're trying to bring people. They're just kind of like writing weekly because everyone says you need to have an email list. You need to be writing to them. But then there's no North Star to what's the purpose. And so they're usually looking for writing an email sequence. And then generally for clients who are coming, who are writing consistently, also they're looking for the conversion because they may actually have pretty good open rates, but the click rates are very low. So they got a lot of lurkers who are interested, but how do we get them to take action? So that's usually where they're coming in. And I would say for the most part, most people who come to me asking about email sequences, that's their number one ask is the email sequences. They're usually thinking of an email sequence they want to do that actually I usually say, oh, actually, I think you want to do this type of sequence. Like they might say, oh, I think it's time for me to have like a welcome nurture sequence. And as we review like their business goals and what they want to do, I say, well, actually, I say you let's do a pre-launch nurture sequence that goes into a sales launch sequence for your program. And then you can go back and do a welcome nurture sequence later because you have a bunch of people who are opening. And I think you just need to start writing to them to get them to come join your program or buy your offer. And so I think that's another piece is usually they come in thinking one email sequence, and then after we talk, oh yeah, it's a different sequence that we want. And so most recently, I worked with a client who did come to me wanting a welcome nurture sequence. She's an empowerment and life coach and had been full-time entrepreneurship for 7 years. And she was consistently writing to her email community for 2 years. And she came and said, I want a welcome nurture sequence. And then we finally landed on, okay, she joined the copy coaching program. We started with a pre-launch nurture sequence. And she has what she already has, which I like to do with my clients is taking stock of what assets you already have, what emails you already have, what content do you have out there, all that stuff. Because again, like we want to work smarter and not harder, and we really want to see like what do you already have that we can use. And so she was able to. She said she had a ton of video content. She has a group program that she was pivoting around, and so and she had her, ideal client avatar. For most part, a lot of my clients have done some brand messaging at that point. And it's really about finding the holes and the gaps in the messaging. And so we were able to do that. Like we took a look at her messaging, and I like to use the bank personality codes. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Have you heard of that?
Oh my gosh, I think I have, but it's been years. It's been a while. Yeah,
So
refresh my memory.
the bank personality codes is basically it's like value driven. It's how do people make their buying decisions according to their core values. And
Okay.
so I really like using it because it's very like human centered, human first, versus like all about the numbers, profit over people, very people centered. And so we were able to crack her bank personality code and then figure out, okay, what type of people she's bringing in to her as clients and their bank personality code. And then from there, we could then tweak her messaging to fit the people of who she was wanting to attract and take action, like really speak their code, basically. So that was one thing we did was just fill in the gaps in the brand messaging, started writing, blueprinting out and writing a pre-launch nurture sequence. And from there we started sending out the emails, and it was almost, I think it was just about a month in, as we were working together, I was giving her copy feedback. She was writing the sequence and she was still writing her email newsletters just for the time being, to keep the connection with her email community. And I remember we were on Zoom together, and she went into her email platform to see how her email did, and she just like froze, and her eyes were like searching, and her mouth was open, and I'm just like on the edge of my seat, and I'm going, like, is it good? Is it bad? What's happening? I'm like, it was like a cliffhanger. And she was just silent, and all I could see was her face through the Zoom. I finally asked her, I said, what do you see? What is it you're seeing? And she's like, oh my gosh, like I got like 66 clicks in this email that I just sent out. And she just was like blown away. And she literally lifts her arms up into the air and just starts pumping her fist. And she just shouts to the heavens, like, copy works. And we were just like giving high fives to each other, air high fives. But it was really awesome to see because we looked to see her metrics from before of the 2 years that she had been sending emails. It was on average, it was single digit clicks, like 4, 8 clicks. And then she started getting 66, 70, 80, 44, just like double digit, which I then had to go back and do the math because numbers isn't quite my thing. So I had my husband help me calculate, but it was like 1,220% increase in the conversion rate, and people like 100 clicks into her booking link, which wasn't even something that we were necessarily promoting, but just from speaking to that code, but also bringing in, like, I noticed she was using storytelling, but only a certain kind of storytelling, where a lot of my clients do this where they're doing storytelling, but they're hiding behind the storytelling. They're using it more just for like educational purposes and not so much for the connection. They're not quite showing up there in their stories. They're using it for teaching, but they're not using it to help them connect so that the people have that emotional connection with them. So we did that. There's just a lot of factors involved where I'm looking and seeing, and then we're piecing together like, okay, honing in the messaging. And she started getting so much more engagement. And so that was one recent client that I really wanted to celebrate because it takes commitment and it takes work. I'm not selling instant success. This, it takes that definitely the mindset work too to to figure out what's holding you back and to get you moving forward.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love hearing you talk
Amazing.
about this because it's a big topic.
It's a big
It
topic.
it really is, and I'm going to backpedal a little bit because you mentioned the storytelling piece and how there must be some sort of nuance between telling a story and then being in the story. Like, can you break that one down a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. There's so many ways to use stories, and I feel like this is what I did as a teacher too. There are so many ways, there's so many purposes for a story. So sometimes you can use stories as I said, like teach, to educate. You're giving someone a new perspective about something that they hadn't thought of it that way before. So, like for example, one of my clients does hormone wellness coaching, and she's like an acne specialist. So when she talks about the many jobs of the liver, for many of our clients, they may have, or her potential clients, they may have heard something like this before about, oh, yeah, I got to detox, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to do the thing. And like just talking about the body, and people just quite aren't connecting with that. And so using storytelling, so we used as an example, Harry Potter and the owl post, because people in her circles are big Harry Potter fans. And so we were able to use that story to connect to the many jobs of the liver. And people start responding like, I had never thought of it that way. I've heard this so many times before, but now it really clicks. Now I really understand why I need to take care of my liver and do the things that then my client comes in as the expert to say like, okay, this is how I can help you with that. So that there's that storytelling. And then there's the storytelling with more like about the connection piece. Like they're getting to know you. I work with a lot of personal brands. So really getting to know you, getting to know your business, getting to know your values through storytelling. And that is another piece where clients can be hiding because they're like, oh, people don't care about that. People don't want to, people don't want to like know me. And so when they're able to step forward in that with authenticity, they get more engagement, they get more responses because suddenly there's a person behind these words in the email. There's a human being. There's someone who likes corgis and dark chocolate and who, who has on the other day fought with the mattress, what's that called, the fitted sheet, because it wouldn't fit on the mattress, like it's just bringing the humanness in, like, oh, everyone can resonate with that. Who hasn't had to fight with their mattress with the fitted sheet?
And
Yeah,
it's so true because as business owners, we are actually our brand. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's using stories in different ways to build that bridge, I like to say, from you to
Mm,
your community.
mm,
That's amazing. Very,
mm.
very cool. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So many questions.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I could talk for hours on this.
Oh, me too. I love the storytelling, and it's really
Yeah,
fun. It's
yeah, it
it
is.
brings the creativity piece into it for me, and
It
um,
does. So true.
Yeah, just to be able to make that bridge between Harry Potter and body organs and teaching like that, yeah, that's amazing. Like
People
I'd
can
love to be
actually.
sitting in one of your classes to teach how you teach us to learn that.
I
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
I
was
like
just
to say.
thinking,
Mhm.
what did you used to teach?
So I taught elementary or primary grades, so that's like ages 5 to 10 years old. So the little ones who, if you have 27 of them in a classroom with you, 7 hours every day, you you better
You
know
got
how to hook and engage them all day.
you
Yeah,
gotta get creative, right?
you have to be creative. I have made up so many thousands of stories over the years to
Hmm.
hundreds of students to engage them because if they're not engaged, they're going to be running all over the place, and you don't want
Yeah,
that.
So
yeah.
would you say it's a skill you are teaching business owners, or is it more intuitive that you just kind of are born with this skill?
Oh, such a good question. I feel like that's absolutely a skill everyone can learn. Copywriting is a skill everyone can learn. Storytelling is a skill everyone can learn. And I truly believe it starts with your identity because I did not identify myself as a writer until 4 years ago. I, even though from when I was a child, I liked writing. I went to a summer camp where my mom said you can choose what you want. And I chose a writing camp for summer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Identified myself as a writer because it wasn't something that I had ever thought about until I started doing a lot of writing and I realized I am a writer. And the same thing for my clients. Like that first step is identifying yourself as a writer because when you identify yourself as a writer, what do writers do? They write. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to go and write and I'm going to learn. And absolutely you can learn storytelling skills. Um, and then also copywriting skills too. Like for me, it seems so natural. And a lot of people say like, oh, you're just like born with it. But I'm like, well, I actually have before I started my business, 15 years of honing my skills as a teacher. It was just in a different role. And so that's why I'm so easily able to just connect stories so easily. Like it just seems so natural to me. And you can connect any story to anything. I have seen we have connected Harry Potter to the liver. One of my clients was really into watching CSI, the crime investigation, whatever that's called, TV show. We connected it to what she does with professional organizing. We've I've connected just the most random stories, which is fun because then people start they get, you're training them because now they're like, oh, she's telling a story about, I don't know, just about when that kid made fun of her fuzzy eyebrows when she was a kid. Like, how is this going to connect to whatever the expertise is? Like for me, it's like, how is this going to connect to copywriting or email strategy, or how is this going to connect to like I work with a lot of wellness and well-being clients. So how's this going to connect to like my diet or nutrition or well, and so they get hooked in because now they're curious. They're like wondering, like, okay. And then once it connects, it almost like brings the loop back, in a movie when you get that satisfying ending. That's what it's like. Like it feels so good to get to the end.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. Oh my gosh. So do all your emails have stories in them? Every
Oh,
single one?
yes. Oh, and I like to say that stories can, like the way that you think traditionally of a story in email format, but any like if you're using storytelling marketing, it can be a line, it could be a sentence, it could be a paragraph or more. It doesn't necessarily need to be the kind of story where it has the from the beginning to end piece of it. So
I'm glad
yes,
I
yeah,
asked. That's very interesting. A one sentence story. Okay.
Yeah.
it's
What's an example of a one sentence story? I'm curious
Yeah,
now.
I was thinking about that.
if you can tell a one sentence story, you are like the advanced level. That's really
Ninja.
good.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I like to think of like it's just a story can just it's just like a window. You're just like giving a window into to something. So it could just be like, I don't know. What is an example? Like I feel like maybe I've done one where it's just a sentence long. I can't think of an example right now, but yeah, if you can like it's just like a couple sentences. Like I met someone on the elevator and she gave me this comment and that got me thinking. And then you just segue into like what your expertise is talking about. And that's it. That's the whole story. It's like
Gotcha.
it's the vehicle going into, oh, and this is what made me think about you and your wellness or you and setting boundaries or whatever it is your expertise is. And so,
Because you're relating a universal human moment being in the elevator. Interesting. Oh,
yeah.
that's fascinating. How
So
fun. Oh my God.
I'm always looking for stories. That's like that's my favorite thing. I'll have something happen and I'm like, oh, this could be a story I could write about. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
So how do you organize that? That's where my brain goes. Like you
hmm
collect stories. So how do you like to organize them so that you can find them again and use them?
Yes. And that's where it comes down to how like having a system. And so I help my clients to find a system that works for them because it's different for everyone. And I am all about like using your strengths, using what works for you, using what you like. Like you don't need to do exactly what I'm doing because I'm a different person. So for me, collecting stories, I use my app on my phone, my notes app, and I will use that to type down like, oh, this story here, and I'll just write. Sometimes I have a subject line pop into my head. I just write it down like subject line, a little clip, or I'll just write a story in there. And then what I do is I will email it to myself and then put it in a Google Doc. So I keep everything in a Google Doc. And then Airtable as well. For some people, like they like the audio, they're more auditory. And so they use their voice memo and they just speak it into their phone. I think the best way to collect stories is really some like your phone is the best way because you always have that with you. And so it's just an easy way to collect. So they use their voice memo app and they just record their stories there. And then they now like the apps and technology is amazing where it now like it transcribes it. So then it's just easy for you to like copy and paste into your I always love using Google Docs. It's the best. So
Yeah.
just put it in a Google Doc. For one of my most recent clients, for her, she really had to physically write, like physically write. She's got so many brilliant ideas in her head, like it's just like swirling in there. So she had created a system where she writes it in a journal and then from there, she actually transcribes into a Google Doc. So she will do voice to text. Then it then it captures it digitally. And then from there, she can pick and choose from there to see, oh, okay, I want to talk about that washing machine story that I have and connect it to what she talks about, program creation.
That's awesome. Oh my
A great
gosh.
system. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that
Now,
is.
now, to me, copywriting is it's essential for a business or a business owner. So I'm sort of curious when you're talking to people, what are the some of the objections they are Yeah, saying when thinking about working with you.
Mm. I would say one would be time.
Mm,
Oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to focus on that. I think that one is a big one that comes up, and that really goes back to what are you prioritizing, especially as business owners. The to-do list is infinite. There is no
mm,
end. You won't see no end to that to-do list. Um, and there there's no like you can fill your time so easily as a business owner. There's just so you gotta do this, you gotta find another team member, you gotta do the emails, like all the things. You're working on a new offer, whatever that is, you're working with your clients. And so that really comes down to prioritizing your time, like what I have found for myself that has worked really well. And let me know if this is something that uh, resonates with you is sitting down and reflecting on, okay, what's working right now, what's not working, what do I want to bring in the next 6 months, what do I want to stop doing, um, what's like you're basically reflecting and seeing you're creating your path forward. So from there you can see if you're realizing like, oh, something is for me is like, oh, I'm writing emails, but I'm not getting traction from that. So then you're gonna bump that up your priority list. And so you really end up saving time in the long run
mm.
to invest in your learning and implementing. Or you could keep doing what you're doing right now, but it's not getting you anywhere. So really you're wasting your time there. So it would be better to invest your time to do the thing so then moving forward, it's actually creating more revenue for you. So I would say that's one big one.
So in the long run, you're actually saving time by working with you. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you're gonna
That, that
have a
that's
system.
brilliant.
You're not gonna be spinning your wheels. Like I hear a lot of people say like their biggest thing that gets them stuck is like, what do I say? What am I saying?
Mm.
Writing. What they sit down and they're like, what am I even saying? I don't know. Like so much. And the amount of mental energy that goes into that constantly, you don't even realize until you've noticed it. And then once you have like, once my clients have a system, they have their sequences mapped out, they know the direction, they have a purpose, it frees up so much mental energy that they can go and use for something else or go take a nap or I don't know.
That is a wonderful way of looking at it. Yeah, that's, yeah, for a business owner that's doing email marketing, yeah, they got to be looking at those numbers and knowing that, hey, if my emails are not converting well, if they're not opening, if they're not buying from my emails, that's a bottleneck. How big of a bottleneck is this in my business?
Mhm.
And hello, look, Joanne, I didn't know she existed. She can help me with this.
I love helping people with that.
I
Yeah,
can tell
that's
you are
obvious.
a brilliant coach at this. You've been like you are anointed for this position. So I'm really enjoying this conversation. I think it's wonderful the work that you're doing for business owners. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm just excited that we're able to kind of shine the spotlight on you today. And you dropped some nice gold nuggets for our listeners. And just thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for for the conversation and listening to all my stories.
It's
Well,
been amazing. So
it's
yeah,
brilliant.
really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So as we wrap this up, can you think, is there anything else you want to make sure that listeners know? Like, did we miss anything?
Yes. So there's always something.
Okay.
I'm like, oh yeah, I could go on for another hour.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
I would say like the biggest thing is like there's so much noise out there. There's so much noise and there's so much content out there. And you can get really sucked into feeling like, oh, I really should be doing what that person's doing, or oh, I should be sounding like more like that, or oh, and I like to say this is one of my coaches taught this to me last like a couple of years ago. Like all that noise, just think of it as background noise. Like for I have two young boys, and to part of their bedtime routine at night is we put on white noise, which is it's just ocean sounds. Okay, just think of all that noise is just like white noise. It's background noise. It's just there, and it's just ocean noise. It's fine. And anything that pops out of it that kind of stands out to you, then just you can notice it and pay attention because there's something there. Everything else just it's just white noise, background noise. Um, and that way you can step more authentically into writing from your authentic self. And I recently spoke with a coach about this just last week who said that she had been writing to her email community. And finally, this year, she realized that she was trying to sound like someone else that she admired and felt like, oh, I need to sound like this person because they're also in my, she's also a business coach and all that. And she finally let go of that and just started being herself, just writing authentically. And she said that changed like her engagement went skyrocketed. And she's been getting so much more engagement in her emails just because she's showing up authentically. So I think that's one really big thing about when you are wanting to show up in your copywriting is like turn off all the noise and really find your authentic voice. Or not just find it, just like it's there, just bring it out, let it shine because people know when you're being authentic, and when you're being authentic, they respond.
I love that. Yeah, what
So
I'm thinking of right now is I remember Oprah when she was first starting her show. There were like, you know, dozens of other people trying to do their own talk shows. And so
Mhm.
she was like in this noise of all these talk shows becoming, trying to find their place in the world. And she had to keep telling her team, stop, don't pay it, don't worry about them. Just focus on what we're doing, put the blinders on, and just go with our process, do our thing. Don't, because if you're running a race and you stop and turn, to see what the people are doing behind you, you're going to fall, you're going to lose momentum. Like it's just not efficient. So I always
Yeah,
remembered that story from Oprah. I'm like, it just relates to what you just said.
that's a
So,
great story. I love that racing one too. That's such a great analogy. Yeah, see, there's
yeah.
story. But
Stories.
stories as analogies.
Yes.
hey,
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome stories.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, I could keep talking. Oh, this is so fun. This is so fun. Um, so yeah, why don't you tell us if you guys are listeners out there, if you're resonating with any of this, Joanne's going to tell you how you can connect with her further. Is it a website? Is it social? Like where can people connect with you further?
Yeah, so people can find me on my website, which is deskplantcreatives.com. Creatives with an S at the end. And from there, you can also grab my free email storytelling guide from there. It's called Three Simple Steps to Irresistibly Entertaining Emails That Sell. And it comes with 25 story prompts specifically for women entrepreneurs and coaches. And then it also has 7 types of hooks to hook people in to your emails because you want them hooked from the first line to the last. And then also it comes with 15 or so or more segues, how to segue from storytelling to your expertise, what you're talking about. And those are nice, like plug and play things you can put in because then you don't have to think about like, how am I going to segue from my story to what I really want to be talking about here. You can just pick one, put it in and get your emails out there because that's I want more women entrepreneurs messages out there in the world, attracting the people that they really want to be attracting and making that impact. So that my storytelling guide, and then you can also find me on LinkedIn at Joanne Homestead. I am the only Joanne Homestead on LinkedIn and on
Nice.
Google. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Joanne Homestead Copywriter as well.
Wonderful. And we'll have all that in the show notes
Amazing.
as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be in the show notes. And I'm just gonna say to our listeners, I'm gonna go grab some of these free resources because they sound absolutely amazing. So go to desplancreatives.com. Yeah, and you can just grab it for free. And I'm gonna thank you once again, Joanne. It's been magnificent. We loved having you here as a guest. You've given so much value. Yeah, I hope you've been taking notes, and if don't, you can just restart this podcast and watch it once again. So let's wrap it up, Angie. I'm Kid Outcast. Thank you.
And I'm Awesome Angie, honoring the awesomeness in all of you. And thanks for listening to Momentum Maker Podcast. Thank you, Joanne, for being our special guest. Oh my gosh, so much value. So thanks for listening. Keep your momentum. Keep moving forward. And if you happen to be a course creator or an entrepreneur and you're spending too much time on the phone selling one-on-one and you're ready to condense time, we talked about time, and selling one to many, you're having that conversation anyway. Let's just put more people in the room. Then open up a tab on your browser and go to elitevirtualstages.com/blueprint and learn how you can turn your expertise into a 6 or even 7 figure day using live transformational virtual masterclasses. So talk about, stories and copywriting and whatnot. Gosh, it's that's what Geety and I do is the virtual masterclass side. So we do the virtual side. Oh my gosh, I still have so many questions, Joanne, but we got to wrap this up. So thanks for listening, everybody. Keep your momentum. And thanks so much, Joanne, for being here.
Thank you.